And good morning. It's 7:03 on this Wednesday, January 6th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Hello, everybody. We are here on a Wednesday morning. It is frosty out there. My car thermometer said 28 degrees. Bob McDonald is waiting to talk about Cedarstone Bank, Lebanon, Mount Juliet, Donaldson, Simple Banking, Simply Better. Bob is on the phone this morning, but we welcome you again, and good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman. Good to be with you. Happy New Year.
Well, likewise. I hope things are off and running well for you so far.
Yeah, so far so good. Everything's off to a good start. It's hard to believe it's 2021. This is our first time together this year, and looking forward to being with you all year, Coleman.
Well, we certainly look forward to it as well and get to talk about all the things that's happening at Cedarstone, plus the other things that you do in the community. And here on this first Wednesday in January, what do you got for us today?
Well, I'll tell you, that's a good segue. You talk about the community. That's one thing I didn't want to mention. This Friday, you know, Susan and I are involved at Andrew Jackson's Hermitage, and this Friday is the annual celebration, if you will, of the Battle of New Orleans. And so we always have a nice ceremony out there at the Hermitage, and it usually takes place right there at where Andrew and Rachel are buried there at their tomb.
Uh-huh.
And normally we'd have a real big crowd, and it's a great celebration. But this year, given all the COVID and restrictions, it'll be a much smaller crowd, and it'll be a much smaller ceremony, but very important nonetheless. And so we look forward to that. We invite all your listeners to come out. Admission is free that day, and I can't remember what time the ceremony begins. I think it's at 11, but the grounds are open, and you can come out and enjoy all that has to offer there at Andrew Jackson's Hermitage.
Do you ever get out Johnny Horton's song about the Battle of New Orleans and play that for this ceremony?
I tell you, we have before, and we've had some of our speakers have referenced that song, and but that has come up many times over the years, and you know that was quite a spectacular event. He headed out from the Hermitage on horseback, obviously. Many months before the actual battle, and rounded up troops from Tennessee down to Louisiana, and picked up farmers and ranchers and free blacks, and just whoever he could find along the way. They brought their own guns and their own ammunition, and that's how Tennessee became named the Volunteer State, because of all the volunteers that came about from the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And defeated the world's greatest army, the British, as they invaded New Orleans. And Coleman, the battle lasted, I can't remember, but it only lasted like 45 minutes. I mean, he was so well prepared and had his men so well prepared that the battle lasted just a few minutes. And I can't remember the count, but I want to say the British had about 10,000 dead, and we only had about 1,500 or 2,000 killed in that battle. But it was quite a feat for him to put together what was referred to as a ragtag bunch of soldiers, and defeated the world's greatest army at the time, the British soldiers. So it was quite an event, and I encourage your listeners who haven't been out there at all to come out this Friday and enjoy what it all has to offer.
Well, and no doubt you and the bank play a big part in bringing this about, calling attention to this, and we're glad to mention it here this morning. What else you got for us?
Well, I'd say we're off to a big start at the bank, as we mentioned, Coleman, and we're wrapping up our final results for 2020, and we're real happy with how the bank performed, how we grew, how we made loans to our customers and our people in the community, and we opened new accounts, and the bank was very profitable. And so we were fortunate for that, and glad that we could help people during 2020. And Looks like Coleman in 2021 will be very similar to 2020. And you remember we talked a lot last year about PPP loans, the Paycheck Protection Program loans that came through the Small Business Administration.
Right.
Looks like there's going to be another round of that coming out soon. The details are not fully communicated to the banks yet, but we have a pretty good idea about what it's going to look like. It'll look a little different than the first round, Coleman, but there'll be some funds available to businesses, and maybe we can talk more about that next week as we learn more. But more of that is coming, and I think it'll be helpful to many of our businesses here in your listening area.
Okay, got two things. I want to just remind everybody, y'all still have some Lions Club pecans. We're wrapping it up. You've still got some, and we always talk about free checking at Cedarstone, so let's not leave that out this morning.
Yeah, we'll wrap up with that. I was with Brenda yesterday, and we were talking, and she only had a few left in her box. So come on out and get those final remaining bags of pecans, and thank you again, Coleman, for letting us be a part of that program. And y'all do great things with that there with your club, and your club's great folks, and y'all been serving the community for many, many years. So thank you and congratulations on another successful year.
Well, thank you for saying that, and don't forget free checking at Cedarstone, and why pay for it when you can get it free?
Completely free. Come by and let us tell you all about it.
All right. Bob McDonald, thanks so much for being with us, President CEO, Cedarstone Bank, Lebanon, Mount Juliet, Donaldson, simple banking, simply better. All right, we're 10 minutes after the hour, and first Wednesday of each month for years, we have nearly missed very few times not having somebody here from the UT Extension Office, and we've got Lucas with us this morning. Lucas Holman, good morning to you.
Coleman, how are you doing today?
Doing well, and it's good to see you.
It's good. It's good to be seen, right?
Yeah, of course. How things gone the last 2 weeks? Y'all been more celebrating than working, or is that a fair question?
We're still working. I think everything's a little bit slower right now because a lot of my questions are gardening related, and most people, for some reason, are gardening outside this time of year. So people will email me bugs or diseases, and I'm not getting any emails right now.
Yeah. But you're the man with the answers when it comes to that, and pretty much your adult life has been spent in this regard in some way or another, hasn't it?
I'm just a horticulture nerd, and I think I was talking to MJ earlier. I love talking to people about it, especially, and I'm a little bit of a talker, but I love presenting to people when it comes to horticulture type matters because once you kind of hook somebody into gardening, they kind of find that passion of gardening, and it just kind of rolls on for years and years. So,
well, I found that to be true.
Yeah, you're a gardener too.
I like to grow my tomatoes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't do. Sometimes they don't. They don't achieve my expectations, but they're still good. It's still good.
Gardening's always a challenge. You're going to have good years and bad, and I think some people just need to realize that sometimes it's not always going to be great.
I don't know what you've got on, but this just came to me, and I've had some other people talking about this, even some people who've had some soil testing done. How important is that? And
it's extremely important, and I don't know if you realize this. Wilson County, we have some clay. So what's crazy about that clay is it holds on to phosphorus and potassium. Since the soil particles are so small, it locks it up. So a lot of times when we are applying fertilizers to our ground, we're just kind of doing it haphazardly. We don't know what's already there. So sometimes we're basically throwing money down the drain that we don't need to. So our soils, most of the soil tests that come across my desk, a lot of them have enough phosphorus and potassium that people don't need to be applying anymore. But nitrogen is the only one that we really need to be applying for the most part because it dissipates from the soil so quickly.
Now, okay, how do you? I'm sure there's nitrogen fertilizers. That you can buy.
Yeah.
Are there other organic means of applying nitrogen?
Blood meal is probably the number one way of applying it. It's a more of a diluted solution, and if you have issues with wild animals or dogs, sometimes they'll be attracted to that blood smell. So it kind of depends. Bone meal's kind of the same way sometimes. Animals will go digging for it. But blood meal is usually the best organic source for nitrogen in the garden.
Now, is that readily available?
Yep. You can normally buy it at any garden center, Home Depot, Lowe's. Co-op probably carries blood meal. And sometimes, depending on where you're buying it from, it can have a smell. So, like, if you're buying that fish emulsion fertilizer, that stuff's pretty stout, too.
Well, now that needs to be, I would think, needs to be mixed into the soil pretty well.
Yeah, it does. And it depends on the application method that you're going to have. A lot of the times, the blood meal is kind of a powder that you're going to use and top dress it. Like, for the most part, a lot of tomatoes, we have enough nutrients in our soil to grow tomatoes. They just need nitrogen at the right times, and we apply it wrong. So, ideally, we pre-plant with some nitrogen. And if your soil test asks for phosphorus and potassium, and then you fertilize again, side dress it when the fruits are about an inch.
Oh.
So some people usually just apply once and they think, set it and forget it. Well, it's not the case. Sometimes that nitrogen goes away pretty fast. You need to apply it again when the fruits start to come on.
Now, do you have a garden every year?
Yep.
A pretty big one, I think.
Yeah, and each year it seems to grow a little bit bigger because I want to grow things that I want to focus on things each year because I consider my garden an experiment. I want to see the challenges of growing certain crops. So when people call me, I think, well, next year I'm going to try to grow that. So last year I focused on cantaloupes and honeydew and some different melons. This year I'm going to focus on a squash called kabocha squash, but it's an old heirloom type winter squash, but there are people who are developing new hybrids. But my goal is to try to grow every vegetable because how can I give information if I've never done it? Yeah. So this spring is going to be asparagus. I've never grown asparagus in my life, and it's only for patient people, which I have no patience at all. But I'm going to try asparagus. I've already ordered them. So
probably going to develop some patience here. We got to take a break. Lucas Holman from the UT Extension office is here. A lot more coming up on Coleman and Company FM 98.9.
And at 7:15, let's see what's happening on the roadways. It's all brought to you by Bates Ford and the Works Vehicle Checkup. $49.95, 5 quarts of oil, tax and disposal, tire rotation, and safety check. They'll make sure your vehicle is ready for any road. 1673 West Main. Now at traffic. Here's Chuck.
Good morning. Watching traffic increase quite a bit there on 24 coming past Harding Place. It's picked up also through Mount Juliet right now, coming out of Wilson County into Davidson County. Gallatin Pike at Conference Drive. That's a crash involving injuries. Avoid that intersection there in that section of Madison. Also a wreck at M Hill Pike at White Pine Drive. Check out the Andre Chicken Sandwich, which is now available at Prince's Hot Chicken, 5814 Nolensville Pike. I'm Commander Chuck, your on-time traffic.
The Farm Bureau Expo is your premier location for an event of any scale, making meeting in the middle easy and accessible for event planners and guests. The Expo proudly participates in the Tennessee Pledge to allow our guests to attend events with confidence. For booking details or to explore events to attend, visit farmbureauexpo.com or check out our Facebook page at Farm Bureau Expo. We look forward to seeing you at the Farm Bureau Expo in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Defensive drivers pay attention to their surroundings. They take precaution to keep their passengers and others on the road safe. We can all be defensive drivers during COVID-19 pandemic. Today, I ask you to take the necessary precautions to keep yourselves and others safe from COVID-19. Wash your hands, social distance, wear a mask, stay at home when you're sick. Living a cautious life doesn't mean that you live in fear. It just means that you care for others. Wilson County cares. This has been a public service announcement from the Wilson County Mayor's Office.
Coleman and Company, thanks for being with us. Our program this morning featuring Lucas Holman. Lucas is somebody he's easy to talk to, and if you've got a gardening question or horticulture question or anything about growing plants or fruits and vegetables, I guess, he's the guy to call and available through the UT Extension. Now, do most people call you or do they text you or how do
Every way.
Every way.
We get messages through every social media aspect, email, and I'll be honest, I'm in and out of the office so much, email may be the best way to get a hold of me because I do home visits and farm visits, so I think some people don't realize that, so some people will ask, well, can you come look at my peach trees? And I'll just, go out there and look at it, so I'm not in the office sometimes.
What would... This is January the 6th, and of course we're going to have frost till probably the middle of April if it's normal. But what should people be doing now? And there are some things that can actually, I guess, be planted maybe in February if you can get ground where you can put it in.
Yeah, ideally, I know it's crazy. The last week of February, the first week of March is when ideally we need to be planting onions. And I know most people don't plant onions then. We need to be planting our asparagus also then. A lot of our greens, our spinach, our lettuce and things need to be planted about the middle of March.
Frost won't hurt them.
Yeah, well, when they're small, so sometimes you may need to cover them up a little bit depending on the nights. Now, last year we had a frost May 4th, and my phone was ringing off the hook because people had already planted all their tomatoes, and it was just kind of a gamble to see what survived that frost. But people need to go ahead and, if you're buying seeds online, not to send everybody into panic mode, but some of these websites are getting hit again from the pandemic gardening kind of rolling over. One of the bigger seed websites I buy from, luckily I got my seeds in a couple of weeks ago. They already shut down their seed website because of high orders for this year. So please don't panic, but I thought go ahead and get a few seeds ordered if you buy seeds online.
I have an idea that with a lot of people working from home, maybe if nothing else, you save travel time, and especially if you've got to go to Nashville or somewhere to go to work. There's up to an hour a day, morning and afternoon, maybe 2 hours that you could spend doing something else. So that kind of leads maybe to gardening.
Oh, this year or 2020 was the year of, we called it pandemic gardening, and all my questions, and Miss Ruth too, we just called it the year of gardening because everybody was at home. They wanted a hobby, and I think that's why a lot of these seed company websites just had to shut down and stop taking orders because they couldn't keep up with them. And you can go ask the co-op; they were having a hard time keeping tomato plants and things in too.
Well, are most of these reliable people? I mean, we have, I guess, in every industry or nearly every walk of life, there's somebody that's dishonest or trying to take advantage of you. But are most of these okay?
The seed websites. You can go on a website called Garden Watchdog, and it will tell you experiences that people have had with past seed companies. So I typically buy from the old reliable seed companies, and I buy a lot of my seeds and plants locally also. But if it's a newer company and the price may seem a little too good, go on Garden Watchdog and look them up and see if it's a good or bad company.
Hey, well, that's a great idea. I didn't know such a thing existed, but at least you have an idea there. And then if you do get taken advantage of, you tried.
You make your own post and complain.
Do you and do a lot of people save their seed?
It depends on the varieties. Now, hybrids, you really can't say hybrid seeds because they'll cross easily with something else. Now, when you get a seed catalog, it'll say open pollinated, heirloom, hybrid. Open pollinated generally can be saved. Heirloom can generally be saved. When you get into the hybrids, like if I had Better Boy tomatoes and I saved those seeds and I had cherries planted right next to them, they're going to be generally a cross of those two. So unless you're a gambler, just buy your new hybrid seeds or plants every year. And I'm real lazy when it comes to starting a whole bunch of things from seeds. Luckily, I have an uncle that helps me out.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot more work to that. It is a lot easier to go to the co-op or somewhere. And that's mainly what
they look 10 times better than some people.
Well, I even tried to grow some tomatoes, and they didn't do well. They came up, sprouted up, but then they didn't grow like I thought they would. I'm sure there's a better way to do it than I did, but I took the easy way out after that.
I've seen some people's setups in their homes with lights and a dehumidifier, and it costs a lot more for all the setup than it does the actual tomato plants. But it's your passion.
Would you say tomatoes are probably of the things that we grow in the garden here in Wilson County? Would that be more people have tomatoes than any other thing?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And in the summertime, my questions with tomatoes start about May, and then they'll go through almost till frost generally. And that's probably the number one plant that I get questions on.
Yeah.
So,
well, you mentioned asparagus.
Yep.
You haven't tried this before.
I have not, but I've read a lot on asparagus. So my goal is to try and establish an asparagus bed, planted about the first week of March. And
I have one at my house, but it just sprouts up every year, and I don't take as good a care of it as I should. But we get a little out of that.
Yep.
But they still don't look just like what you see at the grocery store sometimes.
And the issue, whenever you plant asparagus, you get all that ferny growth that looks like weeds mostly. Those need to be left until frost kills them. And I think some people think, well, that's real ugly. I'm just going to go through and cut it down. ideally that's storing energy for next year's stalks that we're going to eat. So all those big asparagus fronds, they need to be left alone. And I know that's hard to say because it's ugly as sin.
It is, and I left them for a while, and then I took the lawnmower to the wrong.
Yeah, leave them. That way your neighbors get real happy about your weed patch over there.
Mine is just it's about this big around.
Yeah.
Not all that big. I don't know that it's growing all that much. Anything I need to do? Or
you may try to use some fertilizer, and any general fertilizer, triple 10, triple 15 would work fine, and that may just be a little bit of a boost to nitrogen, but I wouldn't apply anything like that until probably it starts growing. So maybe the last week of March, first week of April, you'll start seeing growth coming up.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you plant fertilizer or apply fertilizer too early, it just dissipates and goes away.
Well, another thing you mentioned squash. I think there's a lot of varieties of squash, and a lot of people grow squash.
Love it, and I'm really into these winter squashes, butternut and spaghetti, and that's what I want to grow some more butter. I want to grow butternut. I've never grown butternut, but I usually buy it because I can go get it, a box of it pretty cheap from farmers and things like that. But I love yellow squash. I grow that every year.
Another thing that we used to, when I was growing up, we would have. We'd have the Kentucky Wonder pole beans, green beans, and of course they have runners, and you put sticks with them and tie the sticks up like a teepee or something, and they would really produce. Now, but sometimes the problem I've had when I've tried that, and I haven't in a while, I just gave up. But with insects, they seem to, at least in my backyard, the insects love them beans off it.
It's a little bean beetle called the Mexican bean beetle. And it's a little yellow fuzzy beetle that will go through and wipe them out pretty fast if you're not paying attention to them. And people are pretty opinionated on their beans. My aunt she likes McCaslins, and my mother likes Romas. So a pole bean versus a bush bean, and they plant the same garden together. So they each have everything else is the same, but they each have their own row of beans.
Let me ask something else, and I do these. I say sometimes our program is live, spontaneous, and unrehearsed, and that's for sure this morning. But another thing, I guess you worry about sometimes is cross pollination and some things that don't need to be planted together. And one of the things I'm even wondering about regular tomatoes, let's call them, and these little bitty tomatoes.
They only are an issue if you're going to keep the seeds. Now, I plant cherries next to my regular tomatoes every year, and they are only an issue if they cross. So question that I get every year, if I plant a jalapeno next to a bell pepper, will it make the bell pepper hot? That's false. That's fake news. Isn't that what it's called? Okay. So it's only an issue if you save the seeds.
Yeah.
So
any other thing? There's the onions you said you need to get them out when it's cold.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like ideally, I buy the slips instead of the bulbs or the seeds. If you're starting onion seeds yourself, you need to start them right now. Slips and onion bulbs need to be planted the last week of February, the first week of March. That's probably the big ones.
Those are a lot easier than the seeds.
100 times, 100 times, and you can see them a lot better too.
Yeah. But that's as far back as I would go. The bulbs are from, but you can actually get the little onion plants, and I guess that quicker growth and everything.
And we call them slips.
Slips, yeah.
And here's another useless tidbit of information. If we go to go buy onion sets up here at the co-op, and they have a variety called yellow granix, we know that by another name, Vidalia, but they can't call it Vidalia. So if you're looking for Vidalia onions, if you buy yellow granix, which is what usually the co-op will have every year, that's the same variety that the onion growers grow in Vidalia, Georgia. We just can't call it Vidalia because we're not in Vidalia, Georgia.
I did not know that. Okay. Yeah. And they are
sweet.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, they really are. Well, you are available.
Yep.
We got a couple of minutes here. And again, the phone. Well, if you have a phone book anymore.
Yeah, we do, and you can leave me a voicemail 615-444-9584.
And that's been the number for a long time.
Long time, and you can email me too. LHOLMAN 1, the number 1 at utk.edu, and just holler if y'all got any questions.
Well, I'm sure you do get a lot, but one of the things I like, not only are you available, but you love for people to ask you questions.
Oh, I can talk a long
you even
time.
love home visits.
I do. I love people like to show off their gardens. Yeah. Now this year I don't want to go outside, but right now it's 25 degrees outside.
But yeah, if you've seen any prognostications, any predictions for what the growing season, what this year might be?
Oh, if 2020 is any indication of how 2021 is going to be, you might as well just flip a quarter. I don't know what's going to happen yet. I do think we're going to see this pandemic gardening of people buying up all the seeds again this year, because a lot of the seed websites are indicating things are already sold out for 2021. And I ordered a few more things from a couple of seed companies I used last week, and I thought, I hope I get them. I guess we'll see.
Well, it's really been nice to have you here, and we'll close out again reminding people 615-444-9584.
Perfect.
And L. Holman 1 at
utk.edu.
And you do pay attention to your email.
Oh, yeah, and it's on my phone. And normally, if you have a disease bug question, send me a picture. That may be best.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't describe it.
Well, thanks again for being with us today. We'll see you next time, whenever that is.
Thank you.
That is part one of Coleman and Company. Hope you'll keep it here for more. FM 98.9.
And it's 7:29. Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks, Absolute Kubota and Rental Red Max. Complete inventory, weed eaters, blowers, hedge trimmers for the commercial user and homeowner with up to a 4-year warranty. 1325 West Main. Now at traffic. Let's check in with Chuck.
Good morning. Traffic still crawling along here on I-65 southbound, approaching OHB there in the Brentwood area. They've had a problem with that truck all morning long. At one point, it was leaking quite a bit of fuel. Again, a lot of rubbernecking going on here as we look at it live on 65 southbound at OHB here in the Brentwood area. The heaviest flow, of course, is coming the other direction, northbound, up through this part of Williamson County. Gallatin Pike at Conference Drive was still tied up a few minutes ago on that scene of that crash. Check out the Andre Chicken Sandwich at Prince's Hot Chicken, 5814 Nolensville Pike. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
This is Bob McDonough with Cedar Stone Bank. We know there are times when financial circumstances can be complicated for families and businesses, but we do not believe the solutions need to be. That's why for 15 years we've been delivering simple banking to our customers while still offering all services and products. We're thankful for our customers and the communities that we serve. If you don't bank with us, it would be our pleasure to visit with you and talk about how simple banking is simply better.
Cedar Stone Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Caring for a loved one is as natural as the weather, but just like the weather, one moment it's sunny and the next you find yourself in the middle of a storm. So when it came time to take care of my dad, I knew I needed help, a reprieve from the storm, so to speak. That's when I found the Pavilion Senior Living. They have expertise and experience to weather the storms in your loved one's life. And now I can rest easy. Thank you, Pavilion Senior Living. You should visit thepavilionseniorliving.com to find out more.
This is Philip Etherly with Absolute Rental and Supply. Whether it's cleaning, painting, remodeling, or simply getting better organized, we have the tools and equipment to get the job done. Scaffolding, paint sprayers, ladders, power saws, portable heaters, temporary lighting, generators, hardwood floor staplers, from wallpaper steamers to bulldozers, Absolute Rental has what you need. Call 615-443-RENT. Absolute Rental and Supply. We have what you need.
For the second consecutive season, your Tennessee Titans are in the NFL playoffs.
Okay. T-D-C-D, sack! Touchdown, Titans! Derrick Henry.
The Tennessee Titans. NFL playoff action Titan style.
Brought to you by Steamwell Plumbing and the Jewelers.
LHS, Cumberland University, and the Tennessee Titans. The winning teams are on WANT 98.9.
Today you can expect temperatures to top out in the low 50s with a mix of sun and clouds. Rain showers do begin to push in tonight and continue into Thursday. Highs on Thursday climb into the mid-40s with rain showers in the area. We could even get some wet snowflakes mixing in by Thursday night. This weather forecast is brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. Let's look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist TJ Scott.
Coleman and Company, welcome to part 2, the second half for Wednesday. Philip Medley here. We're ready to talk about Absolute Rental and Supply. Philip's been there for 19 years, and come June it'll be 20. Good morning to you.
Morning, Coleman.
Everything going all right at this time?
Everything's going great.
All right. First thing we try to do each week is just remind you their phone number. But it's an easy one to remember, but it says it all almost in the phone number, 615-443-RENT, R-E-N-T. And that's what it's all about at Absolute Rental and Supply there, 1325 West Main and 11. So how's it going this week?
We're busy this week. Everything's good and steady. I always laugh and tell people I think between Thanksgiving and January 1st, everybody's kind of in neutral. Nobody's really pushing to get any jobs done. Well, now all of a sudden the New Year's here and we're seeing things pick up. Everybody's getting back to pushing and getting in gear.
Everything from wallpaper steamers to bulldozers. Mm-hmm. What's the most popular item this week?
You know, right now the earth moving equipment, the skid steers and the mini excavators and the larger equipment. I've got one dozer out right now. One of the large excavators are out right now. So you know, kind of the earth moving stuff's going on real busy right now. So
it's not to the temperature being 28 degrees or something is not going to make that much difference.
It really does. You know, we kind of have a policy. We want the temperature to be 20 degrees and rising before we send some equipment out, diesel equipment especially. Just makes it's really hard on us below 20 degrees. But as long as it's 20 degrees and rising, we'll let everything go out.
Well, everything's all right today. It's going to get warmer.
Exactly.
But that brings us to another point here. You do deliver, and you have it's quite a popular thing, isn't it? Especially it's some of the heavier equipment.
It really is. It's a huge asset to Absolute Rental and its customers. There are so many people that don't have the proper size trucks or vehicles to tow it safely, and we want to make sure we get it safe. And then there's the convenience factor of just calling and saying when you need it there, and when you're done, calling and saying, hey, I'm done with it, come pick it up.
Well, you make your money mostly from your rent, not from your transportation, but a nominal fee. You pay for your gas and the time, and that's all. I mean, anybody can understand that, I think, and a lot of people do take advantage of that.
We really do. We stay busy with deliveries all the time. My son Josh is out in a truck right now delivering. As soon as I leave here, I'll be going to deliver a couple. But you know, I think it's just a huge asset, a good service to the customers.
Well, go to their website, absoluterental.com. Check out what's available there, and especially if there's a particular item you're wondering if they have. And it's okay to call and ask, but I mean, it's easier, really, just go to the website and see what's there. But you can't rent it there. You've got to call to make a reservation or to see if it's available today or whenever you want it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great tool for people to be able, if they're thinking about a project, go and look and kind of be able to figure their cost in there. And then when they get ready to decide that they do need it, go ahead and give us a call, because like I say, phone calls are coming in. It happens to us literally on the counter. I'll be talking to someone on the phone and another guy's talking, and we're both trying to rent out the same piece of equipment at the same time. So, you know, it can be challenging.
Have some disputes to resolve along that line.
Oh, definitely.
Somebody's going to get it, somebody's going to
exactly. That's a weekly deal, and you kind of learn to listen to everybody's conversation on the counter, because even while I'm talking on the phone to you, I'm listening to what this guy's saying to make sure I don't run into the same problem. But it has happened several times.
Well, you've only got so many pieces of a particular piece, and I guess some you might only have one or two. Depends on how often they're needed.
Exactly.
I mean, it is a business.
It is.
One other thing that I've been amused a little bit. If somebody likes a piece of equipment and they'd really like to have it, you'll sell it.
Oh, exactly. Yep. They decide they want to buy it, we'll sell it.
Get you a brand new.
Yeah, that's our theory. We'll sell it and then we'll go buy. And one of the big things in rental industry is fleet age, and you want to make sure you keep some current, keep your current fleet age young, for lack of better terms, and all that stuff, because that just it reflects on the reputation of your company.
All right, your hours, you might give them before you go this morning.
Yeah, we're open from 7 to 5 right now, Monday through Friday, and it's always on Saturdays from 7 to 4. Right. And when daylight savings time kicks back, we'll start staying open till 6 again.
All right, and we'll see you next Wednesday and do it again.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Philip Adley with Absolute Rental Supply. Again, their phone number is 615-443-RENT. We are 22 before the hour. Lebanon Mayor Rick Bell joins us. And Mayor, good morning.
Good morning, Coleman.
Don't you just love to hear Philip talk? Philip is so enthusiastic about his business. He's really, and I brag on him a little bit, but he's quite a bit younger than, I don't know about you, but a lot younger than me. But I just like to see somebody that really, he's got his heart in his business. He wants to make money, but he wants to take care of his people, and it just shows.
You know, Philip is great. I've known Philip for a long time. We went to school together a long time ago. Now, he's older than me. I'll say that. But we're in Rotary together, the Lebanon Rotary Club, and for years we've sat at the same table together, and he's built a great business down there. And you know, he is one of many people who are locally owned, have locally owned businesses, and people like Philip are really the backbone of our economy in our city, I think. So he does great.
I hope things are going well for you in 2021.
They are. You know, it's I've been in office for a month now, and it's been a busy month. We've accomplished a lot. Been to a lot of meetings, and my days fill up. I was mentioning to someone in the city the other day that, you know, the days go by fast because we have a lot going on, and before you know it, the day is over. But it's been a great experience. I've learned a lot. You know, I learn something new every day, and the first month has been really productive, and you know, we're ready to move on through this next year.
Well, we had a city council meeting last night, did we not?
We did.
Tell us a little bit about that. It was who was at City Hall?
Well, I was at City Hall, and there were a few of the department heads who were still in the offices. Of course, it's on Zoom. And then my team, Debbie Jessen and Jennifer Trammell. Jennifer is the council secretary, so we were kind of in our suite together, and that's where we kind of run the meeting from. But the counselors, some of them are at home, and then we have citizens at their homes. They get on the Zoom call as well if they want to speak. We had someone speak last night. So, you know, the Zoom calls are working well, I think. People can watch those on Facebook. Now, naturally, you know, I want to get back, you know, to live meetings. I think that works best when people can show up and talk to us in person and really express their concerns and ideas. But, you know, the way things are now, we just can't do it. But, you know, hopefully soon we'll be.
Most people understand, but at the same time, it's just like, it's sort of like one of my guests calling in, doing a phone interview, and when we're sitting here looking at each other, and I have a pretty good idea when you're through and I'm time to ask another question.
Yeah.
Some things about that on the telephone, now it's after we've done it a few times with the same person, it's not too bad. And I guess y'all get more adjusted to it, but it's still not like just being right here and looking.
It's not, you know, a face-to-face conversation is always better.
Yeah.
It really is. But it goes well. We do roll call votes to make sure everybody's vote is counted. And, you know, when people make motions, you know, they state their name to make sure we know who made the motion and can keep the record straight. And so it goes pretty well. But again, it's just not the same. It really isn't. And hopefully one day soon we can get back to.
Well, did you have a big item on the agenda last night?
You know, it was a short agenda, shorter than usual, but there were some important things that happened. One of which was, you know, down at 5 Oaks, River Oaks, that entrance there, that's been a bad spot for a long time. Those are very populated neighborhoods, and people have been pulling out onto a 5-lane busy highway for years, and there's been accidents there throughout the year. So we started the process of getting a traffic signal down there. And what's going to happen with that is it's going to be developer funded, so no city dollars are going to go into it. And the city has been waiting for developers to turn their money in. So for the past few weeks, we've collected money, and now it's time to start the bid process the construction process to get that going.
How
And
much
so that's
money, approximately, how much money are we talking about?
it's a lot. And Christian Rice, who you had on here last
We're
month,
talking about 6 figures and better. aren't
it's
we?
close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's close to that. And because it requires road improvements, your steel poles, there's a lot to it. A lot more than I realized. And she said that the real issue here is the steel poles. It takes a long time to get those manufactured. And what I didn't realize was when we go through a red light intersection, those steel poles were specifically made for the intersections. So there's not some assembly line out there that makes a bunch of them the same way. So you have to wait for those to be built. But the bid process is going to start, then the construction process, and I really hope to have that finished by the end of the year and get that up and going. So that was a big part of our agenda last night.
All right. But the developers are paying for all
Yes,
of
they
this.
are.
And I guess there's going to be some development on both sides of the road there.
Well,
time,
River Oaks is a newer subdivision, and they're putting quite a bit into it. On the backside of that, there's single-family homes, and the front is more commercial, mixed-use type along the highway frontage there. So they're going to put part of it in. Across the road there, you have some development at the front of Five Oaks. They're going to put money into it. That's the latest check that we've gotten. So, and there's a few other things going on down there too that developers are going to put some money. I think there's 6 different entities that are going to put money into this traffic signal.
Well, they've all pretty much given their word on this, and so when they come through, it's going to be fully funded. Is that the idea?
That's the idea. And what happens is early in the process when they start construction, that's not really when they turn their money in. They turn the money in, when they're more built out. And so, but we have collected enough money now that we can get started on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's but here again, you can say that it's not going to be at least not any appreciable amount out of the city coffers.
That's
So,
right.
Okay.
That is correct.
Mayor Rick Bell is with us. It's time for us to take a break. You're listening to Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And it's now 7:44. Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Want to thank Bates Ford and the low price tire guarantee on all tires every day. Up to 30 days after the sale, there'll be any competitor's pricing on the tires they sell. 1673 West Main. Now at traffic. Here's Chuck.
Good morning. Still running slower than normal here on I-65 southbound in the Williamson County area. Brentwood exit here at OHB because of an earlier problem with a truck. Again, that 65 southbound. Still running slower than normal approaching Old Hickory Boulevard. Gallatin Pike at Conference Drive in Madison. They're trying to mop up that wreck with injuries. It's picked up through Kingston Springs now on I-40 eastbound coming in from Dixon County. Check out the Andre Chicken Sandwich now available at Prince's Hot Chicken. 5814 Nolensville Pike. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
Gregory Dental in Lebanon is a family dental practice located across from University Medical Center. They offer cosmetic procedures, dental implant services, and now featuring new digital dentures. Premium dentures in just 2 appointments. No insurance, no problem. Call about our discount plan.
Hi, I'm Dr. Derek Gregory. In my office, you can count on compassionate staff who will truly listen to you, take the time to get to know you, and discuss your personal needs. I look forward to meeting you.
Gregory Dental Group, 444-0322, West Medora Parkway across from Gibbs Pharmacy.
Defensive drivers pay attention to their surroundings. They take precaution to keep their passengers and others on the road safe. We can all be defensive drivers during COVID-19 pandemic. Today, I ask you to take the necessary precautions to keep yourselves and others safe from COVID-19. Wash your hands, social distance, wear a mask, stay at home when you're sick. Living a cautious life doesn't mean that you live in fear. It just means that you care for others. Wilson County cares. This has been a public service announcement from the Wilson County Mayor's Office.
Coleman and Company, thanks for joining us. And, of course, our thanks to Mayor Rick Bell for showing up. We're going to get to see him a couple of times every month, maybe, and even a few other times on special occasion if need be. But, okay, what else from last night's meeting?
Yeah,
you said it wasn't a lot, but there's probably some more to discuss.
There was, and there's a couple of things. And the next thing really wasn't on the agenda. Is more of an announcement that I made. Right there in front of the Kroger area, there are going to be sidewalks built. There's a gap in the sidewalk system right there in front of the Kroger and Wendy's and all that. So there will be sidewalks built on both sides of the road. And there'll also be some pedestrian signal improvements, so there'll be a walking man tell you when you can cross the road and things like that. This is a TDOT funded project. It's about $1.5 million. The city is moving utilities, so we do have some expense with that, but it is TDOT paid, and it should be complete by September of this year. And so when that gets built, we'll have sidewalks really from the square all the way out to the South Fork neighborhood, and that really leads to connectivity. That's something I talked about a lot out here was connectivity, walkability, and things like that. And when we think about that, we often think about the central part of the city, kind of the heart of the city around the square, but it really happens throughout the city too. And you'd be surprised how many people out in that area walk and run and exercise up and down the sidewalks along Main Street, and so this is really going to help them. I think it'll help connectivity out there. And it was about a month ago I was talking to a lady, and she actually brought this up. Hey, we need a sidewalk right there in front of Kroger. So I'm here to tell her today that we're getting one.
How big a gap is there? Do you have it?
I drive by it every day, and I've always noticed there's no sidewalk there. I don't know what the gap is as far as the distance.
Quarter of a mile, maybe.
It probably is.
Yeah.
It's from basically right there where the Wilson Bank Mortgage Center is, on past where the stockyard used to be. I mean, it's a pretty big gap there. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And will it be on both sides?
It'll be both sides of the road, and again there'll be pedestrian traffic signals there to make sure people can cross safely as well. So that's something we're in the process of doing too.
Well, I really hadn't thought about people exercising on the sidewalk like you were talking about, although I guess we see them occasionally.
Yeah.
But this would lend for more of that, and I would think you'd feel fairly safe. It's not any secluded area or anything, just unless there's a wayward car.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, there's always cars, and last night I did have a lady send me a message that said, she talked about how great the sidewalks were. She had heard about it. She said, but we have stopped people from speeding, and I said, I promise you, we're working on that too. I had a meeting with the police chief yesterday where we talked about reckless driving and some of the safety issues on our street, and I can promise you our police department, they're on that.
Well, that's a good announcement to hear this morning. At least you're going to have, used the word connectivity, but we're going to have continuous sidewalks there on both sides of West Main. So look forward to that. And you said you hope to have that by the
September.
Yeah. All right.
By September. So that they'll start that process pretty quickly.
All right. What else can we talk about this morning?
Well, one of the things that's really, it's not on a city council agenda, but something more behind the scenes, and is that, I talked a lot about during the campaign about, the comprehensive plan that the city was working on, and we really need to get that in place. So what happened was the Planning Commission put together a subcommittee to really dig into that, and we started that process this past Monday. We had a meeting this morning. We're going to have a meeting once a week for the next couple of months. And really the reason we're doing that is because the Planning Commission is going to have to deal with the comprehensive plan. They're the ones who take care of that part of the city process. And I really feel like that they need some ownership in it. But also one of the things about that comprehensive plan is that I believe it is weak on objectives and goals. Really taking all this information and put it into some real world items that we can put into practice to manage growth and get some things here that we want. So that process started this week, and we banded around some different ideas about what we want to have happen in the future, and the staff was there, and the subcommittee was there, and really the point of this is just come up with some short-term goals, some intermediate goals, and some long-term goals. Now, when I say long-term, I don't mean 20 years. I'm talking about like 5 years, and really come up with some ideas that can be presented to the Planning Commission and the City Council to really get some management in place and get this accomplished. And there's a few important things I think we need to focus on. One is the future land use plan to really, tell potential developers, hey, as a city, this is what we want in this location.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And advertise that and say, so everybody knows up front, okay, this is what's going to happen. And also our zoning ordinances. I really believe that some of our zoning is too wide ranging. So when a piece of property comes in to be rezoned, it allows too many things. And so the city council and the citizens and the planning commission, when they look at that thing, say, well, if we rezone this, we don't really know what's going there. There's too many options. I think that needs to be narrowed down so that when the city council looks at a project, they can be sure, hey, when we do this, this is what we're going to get. And really what I would like for this to turn out to be is that, the process is simple. And when a developer comes in here with an idea, they know what can go there. The city council knows what can go there. The citizens know what can go there, and there's no surprises. We know what we're voting on. We know what the decision is, and it's not that difficult.
How is this going to set with property owners? Are most of them you feel like going to fall in line?
Well, property owners obviously, some of them want to sell their property, some of them don't. And when they sell their property, they want to sell it for as much as possible, and I understand that. And I'm not here to say you can't make money on your property or you can't make money on your development. What I'm trying to say is that we want things to come in here that's good for the property owner, good for the citizens, good for the city, and it's good for everybody. And I think if we do that, obviously we're going to have controversies. I'm not saying that, but we can make the process simpler and without surprises.
And if you don't have some sort of plan in place, then you just get a hodgepodge and
exactly and
kind of confusion, really.
It is, and a lot of things get confused, and that's what causes issues. And I think if up front people understand, okay, this is the situation, that makes things a lot simpler. Now, changing zoning, that's a process. That's a process, and so part of this subcommittee is, part of their goals is to get this process started as quickly as possible. Now, one of the things that I believe we can start off pretty quickly is I would like to see better architectural design standards for, especially our commercial buildings that are built. Get a better look, make sure they're nice buildings, they're well constructed, and if something looks nice, then obviously that's better for everyone. And I can tell you the other day, my wife Nicole and I, we were riding through Gallatin, and we passed some townhomes, and these townhomes are very nice. They had brick and stone and cobblestone streets and courtyards in the back, and I'm looking at it thinking, wow, I mean, this is great. And then I come here and I see townhomes that don't look like that. They're made of hardy board and things like that. So when I talk about architectural design standards, that's what I'm talking about. Things look nice. They look good. They're attractive, and people look at that and say, man, that's great. I'm glad that's here. The development we get, I want people to look at it and say, I'm glad that's here.
Well, we've got a little ways to go there.
We do. We do. And we're a historic city, and we have and we have a lot of areas that are already developed, and but we have a lot of areas that are blank slates too, and I believe we can do this.
In any particular area you'd really like to see growth? I mean, I know when you go between on Interstate between 231 South and Sparta Pike out there's an awful lot of land as you're going east to the left there. It's all open for development. I don't know what's going to happen or when. I don't know where that is on your agenda.
Well, and that's one of the things that we've talked about for months, Coleman, is our interstate exits. We're not utilizing them correctly, I don't believe. Obviously, 231 South is built out. Hartman Drive is not.
Right.
Sparta Pike definitely is not. 109 is growing. People don't realize that it's growing quite a bit. But, those are areas that I believe are blank slates. We can get a better look there. We can attract some better type restaurants and businesses there. But we need a plan. Now, we have the Hartman Drive corridor, which has been put into effect, kind of handle that area. Chris Crowell, who's the counselor for Ward 4, which is the 109 exit, he has mentioned we want to do the same thing at 109. Help us with that area out there. But Sparta Pike is something that I think has been ignored for a long time, and we really need to get on that. There was a Sparta Pike study done, but I don't believe much has been done with it since then. And that's one of the things that I want to make sure happens is that, when we do studies, and it's the same thing with the comprehensive plan, make sure the study don't get put on a shelf somewhere and forgotten. Once it's done, let's put it into effect. Let's use it.
Well, we got the Ag Center there, which is a big attraction.
It is.
And you would think that maybe that lends to some more businesses located.
When you have the Expo Center, that has events all the time, and that should attract some things too, because it's not just the fair at the Expo Center. I mean, obviously the fair is huge, and that's what people got there for. But there's other events all year long that attract people to that exit, and I really believe that we can attract some business out there because of that.
Well, we got a minute and a half left. Anything else on your mind this morning? I about run out of questions, to be honest.
I told you earlier, I learn something new every day, and that's what I've always tried to do, being a former educator now. Now, I learned something out here in the lobby that I didn't know. For your listeners, they probably don't realize that you show up right on time for your radio show. And Billy told me that in 27 years, you've only been late one time.
Well, he's being kind. A few more than that, but I think I could count them on the fingers of one hand. Three or four.
Yeah.
Well, I have got it timed down. There's only 2 traffic lights between my house and here, and so far so good, I guess.
Yeah, just don't break down.
Well, I work hard on that too. Rick, it's always good to see you. I'm glad to hear that things are off and running, and you have moved your office is in the main building.
My office is in City Hall, and when I started my time in office, I said my first 100 days I wanted to get some things done, and we're about 30 days into it, and I believe we're getting things done, and we're going to keep working on it.
All right. Well, we'll see you hopefully after each city council meeting, so that'll be 2 more weeks. You'll be back here again, and we'll look forward to that.
I'll be back.
All right. That is going to do it for Wednesday. Our thanks to Mayor Rick Bell, and tomorrow's another day, and we hope you'll join us tomorrow for the Thursday edition. And until then, I wish you a wonderful day.